$12 a day. That's the entire distance between an average American retirement and $1 million account by 55. Not a business, not a promotion, not a rich uncle. $12 parked in the right place, starting with the $10,000 you might already have. Meet Maya. Maya is 28, manages the front desk at a dental office, and earns $52,000 a year. She has $10,000 sitting in a savings account, and she checks it like it's a houseplant that refuses to grow. Every finance video she watches tells her she needs a six-figure salary, a side hustle, or a time machine. Every single one of them is wrong, because the honest math says Maya can retire at 55 with $1 million. $23,000 on her exact salary, starting with her exact $10,000. And the number that gets her there is smaller than what most people spend on lunch. But here's what nobody tells you. The same math has a dark side. And it's the reason most people who start this plan quit in year 6. Let's be clear about what's actually at stake here. According to Fidelity's own account data, the average American between 25 and 29 has $26,600 saved for retirement. By ages 55 to 59, that average has crawled to just $260,800. 30 years of working, and the average account grows by roughly $234,000. That's not a retirement. At a safe withdrawal rate, that's about $10,000 a year to live on. Maya saw those numbers and felt the same thing you probably feel. Behind, late, priced out of the whole game. So she did what most people do. She kept her $10,000 somewhere safe and waited for a bigger salary that would fix everything. She's been waiting for 3 years. The account has earned $120, except the bigger salary never fixes it. Fidelity's data shows people earning 6 figures with nearly empty accounts, and we'll meet a study full of teachers who quietly became millionaires. The difference was never the paycheck. It was a machine, one specific, boring, 100-year-old machine that turns small money into absurd money on a schedule you can print out. Over the next few minutes, we're going to run that schedule with real numbers. The exact monthly dollar amount for every starting age. The fee that quietly eats a fifth of the pile. The 10 days that decide half your outcome. And the ugly stretch in the middle, where the whole plan looks broken. The stretch that makes or breaks everyone. Here's what the data shows. To see the machine clearly, you need to meet 3 people who all touched the same $10,000. First, Maya. 28 years old, $52,000 salary, $10,000 saved. Her money sits in a big bank savings account earning 0.4%. The bank calls it a preferred savings account, preferred by the bank mostly. Second, her co-worker Carla. Carla is 32, sits 10 feet away at the same office, and earns almost the same, $54,000 a year. Same commute, same rent, same complaints about the coffee machine. But at 25, Carla opened a boring brokerage account and set up one automatic transfer. Today, her account shows $42,463, and she hasn't picked a single stock in 7 years of investing. Carla's secret isn't intelligence, and it isn't luck. It's that she made exactly one decision, once, and then let a computer repeat it 100 times without asking her opinion. Third, Maya's older sister, Diana. Diana is 34, earns $58,000, and keeps everything in checking. $14,000, earning nothing, guarded like a dragon's hoard. Diana got burned watching a market crash on the news once and decided investing was gambling. Her money has been resting for 9 years. In those same 9 years, the market roughly doubled twice. Diana didn't lose money. She lost the money her money should have made, which stings less, because no statement ever shows it. 3 people, nearly identical paychecks. 3 completely different futures, decided by nothing except where the money sleeps at night. Put their trajectories on one chart and the lines barely separate for the first few years. 10 years out, the gap is a car. 20 years out, the gap is a house. 30 years out, the gap between Diana's checking account and Carla's index fund is a different life entirely. Same city, same commute, same take-home pay. Maya's dad had opinions too, of course. Over Sunday dinner, he told her what worked in 1985. Put it in the bank, sweetheart, and let it add up. He wasn't lying. Bank interest paid double digits in the early 80s. His advice was genuinely great 40 years ago. That's the thing about money advice. It expires quietly, like milk with no date on the carton, and it's usually served by people who love you. Today, that same advice is a slow-motion disaster, and we can measure exactly how slow. Run Maya's plan, $10,000 upfront plus $12 a day, inside a 0.4% savings account for 30 years, and she ends with $150,000, $859. Same discipline, same sacrifice, same 30 years. And she loses $872,000 compared to the exact same deposits in a different location. Not because she was lazy, because the container was wrong. And one more thing about that Sunday dinner. When Maya mentioned index funds, her dad's fork stopped midair. The market? That's how people lose everything? He watched neighbors panic sell in 2008, and he's been telling the story ever since. What he never mentions, because he never checked, is what happened to the neighbors who didn't sell. Every dollar that stayed invested through 2008 roughly quadrupled over the following decade. The crash wasn't the disaster. The exit was, so let's keep this fair. Same starting money for everyone. Same salary range, $52,000 to $58,000. No promotions required. Same 30-year window, age 25 to 55. No inheritances, no lottery tickets, no crypto miracles, no promotions written into the math. The only variable we're allowed to change is the machine the money sits inside. Now let's open the hood. Here's what nobody tells you about the stock market. You don't need it to be exciting. You need it to be average. The S&P 500, a basket of the 500 biggest American companies, has averaged a little over 10% a year since 1957 with dividends reinvested. Not every year. Some years it drops 30% and the news calls it the end of America. Other years it jumps 25% and your barber starts giving stock tips. But stretched across decades, the average keeps landing near 10%. And 10% has a superpower called the rule of 72. Divide 72 by your return, and you get the years it takes money to double. 72 divided by 10 is about 7, so at the market's historical average, money doubles roughly every 7 years. Watch what that does to Maya's $10,000 with nothing added. Age 25, $10,000. Age 32, $20,000. Age 39, $40,000. Age 46, $80,000. Age 53, $160,000. 5 quiet doublings, no talent required. And here's the detail that matters most about doublings. Each one is bigger than all the previous ones combined. The doubling from 80 to 160,000 creates more new money than the first 3 doublings put together, which means the machine's biggest paydays are always stacked at the end of the runway. Remember that? Because it comes back to haunt this video later. But notice something. That's 160,000. Impressive, but not a million. The lump sum alone doesn't get you there. 10,000 at 10%. For 30 years grows to $174,494. The million needs a second ingredient, and the second ingredient is embarrassingly small. Most people believe the monthly number must be enormous, so they never run it. So let's run the numbers. Target, $1 million by 55. Starting ammunition, $10,000 at age 25. Assumed return, 10%, the boring historical average. The monthly contribution required is $365. That's it. $365 a month, $12 a day, lands at $1,023,452 by age 55. On Maya's salary, that's about 8% of her gross pay. A used car payment, a daily lunch out. Now watch what waiting does, because this is where the trap lives. Start the identical plan at 30, and the required payment nearly doubles to $672 a month. Start at 35, and it's $1,228. Start at 40, it's $2,312. Start at 45. And hitting $1 million by 55 now demands $4,755 every single month. More than Maya's entire take-home pay. Same goal, same market. The price of the exact same $1 million multiplies 13 times, purely based on your start date. Here's the same trap measured a different way. If Maya runs her $365 plan for 30 years, she ends with just over $1 million. If she waits 5 years and runs the identical plan for 25, she ends with $604,000. That 5-year delay, 5 years of "I'll start when things calm down," costs her $418,588. Roughly $84,000 per year of waiting. Nobody hands you a bill for waiting, which is exactly why waiting feels free. And if you want to watch the plan breathe, here's Maya's actual printout, year by year. Year 5, $44,718. Year 10, $101,000. Year 15, $195,000. Year 20, $350,000. Year 28, $830,000. Then the finish line at 30, $1,023,000. Notice the shape of that curve. The first 100,000 takes 10 years. The last 100,000 takes about 11 months. Same deposits, same market. The machine simply gets stronger every year it's left alone. And in the final stretch, it's adding a Maya salary's worth of growth every 6 months. So where does the $365 go? Not into stock picking, not into whatever a guy on the internet is yelling about. It goes into 3 boring containers in a strict order. Container 1, the 401k match. If Maya's employer matches, say, 50 cents per dollar on the first 6% of her salary, that match is an instant 50% return before the market does anything. Ramsey Solutions studied over 10,000 American millionaires, and 8 out of 10 built their wealth using this exact unglamorous account. Container 2, a Roth IRA, filled with a total market or S&P 500 index fund. She pays tax on the money now, and every dollar of growth comes out tax-free later. $1 million Roth is $1 million you keep. Container 3, a plain taxable brokerage account, same index fund, for anything beyond the limits. Now, Maya actually tried to do this, and walked into a bank to ask about it. The teller was lovely. He slid a brochure across the desk for a high-yield savings account at 4% and called it our best rate ever. And look, 4% is fine for an emergency fund. 6 months of expenses belongs exactly there. But run Maya's 30-year plan at 4%, and she ends with $286,463. The best rate ever leaves $737,000 on the table compared to the market's average. A high-yield savings account is a great parking spot and a terrible engine. The rule is simple. Money you need within 5 years sleeps in savings. Money you won't touch for decades goes in the machine. Carla's actual setup, for the curious, took her one afternoon at 25. She opened the Roth IRA online in 11 minutes, picked a single S&P 500 index fund, and scheduled a transfer for the day after payday. Then she raised her 401k contribution to capture the full match, which took one email to HR. Total cost of entry, $0, one afternoon, no expertise. She told Maya the embarrassing truth over lunch. I genuinely don't know what my fund did last quarter. That's the entire skill. 7 years later, that one afternoon is out-earning her annual raise. Here's what actually happens when compounding meets fees. Diana, remember, thinks investing is gambling. So when she finally decided to try, she wanted a professional to hold her hand. The advisor wore a beautiful suit. He proposed actively managed funds and a fee of just 1% per year. 1% sounds like a tip. It is not a tip. Run Maya's exact plan. Same deposits, same 30 years, but skim 1% annually. And the ending balance drops from $1,023,000 to $815,527. That polite little 1% quietly pockets $207,925. A fifth of the million gone without a single bad market day. Meanwhile, the index fund Carla uses charges as little as 0.03%. That's the entire secret the suit doesn't say out loud. Fees compound with exactly the same magic as returns, just pointed at your face. This doesn't mean every advisor is a villain. Flat fee, one-time advice can be worth every penny, especially for taxes. But a percentage skimmed forever off a compounding pile is the single most expensive subscription Diana will ever be offered. And the sneakiest part is how the fee hides inside good years. The market gains 20%. Your statement shows 19 and you feel rich anyway. No invoice, no receipt, just a decimal point quietly doing to your money what compounding was supposed to do for it. Diana asked the advisor one question that ended the meeting early. If I just bought the index myself, what exactly am I paying you $200,000 for? He talked about peace of mind for a while. Peace of mind at that price is the most expensive furniture in the building. Read the expense ratio. It's one number. It's printed right there. Now for the tax nobody withholds. Your own hands. Maya's. Friend Tyler texted her in week 3 of her new plan. Index funds are for boomers. This coin did 40% last Tuesday. Tyler is not evil. Tyler is the behavior tax in a gray hoodie. The research firm Dalbar has measured this exact gap for decades. The average equity investor underperforms the very funds they own by multiple percentage points a year, purely from buying excited and selling scared, and the market punishes the jumpy with surgical precision. JP Morgan looked at 20 years of returns and found that missing just the 10 best days, 10 days out of roughly 5,000, cuts your final result nearly in half. Here's the cruel joke. Those best days cluster right next to the worst days, inside the exact panics that make people sell. Carla lived this. In the 2020 crash, her account dropped by a third in a month. Her coworkers sold everything. Carla did the hardest thing in finance, which is nothing. Her automatic transfer bought all the way down, and those panic-priced shares became the fastest-growing dollars she owns. The behavior tax has one loophole, and it's beautifully lazy automation. Money that moves by itself on payday before you see it cannot be panic sold on a Tuesday. Set the transfer, delete the app if you have to. The machine works precisely as well as you're able to ignore it. Let's kill the biggest objection directly, because you've been thinking it this whole video. Sure, but my salary is too small for this to matter. Ramsey Solutions ran the largest study of American millionaires ever conducted, 10,167 of them. 79% received zero inheritance, not a dime. And the top 5 careers that produced them were engineer, accountant, teacher, manager, and attorney. Read that list again. Teacher is number 3. A third of these millionaires never earned 6 figures in a single household year. Ever. They outcompounded people who earned double their income because the machine doesn't ask for a big salary. It asks for a long runway and a boring deposit. Meanwhile, the people targeting Maya's paycheck know she feels behind, and feeling behind makes people buy dumb things. A guy at a hotel seminar told her that index funds are the slow lane, and that his indexed universal life policy had market upside with zero risk. The pitch always has the same shape. Your salary is too small for the normal path, so you need the special one. Run the numbers on the special one, and you'll find caps on your gains, fees on your deposits, and surrender charges when you leave. Maya asked the seminar guy one question from this video. What's the expense ratio? He said it was structured differently. That phrase is a fire alarm. Anything structured differently from a number is structured against you. The slow lane is the fast lane. It's just quiet. And if the salary myth still has its hooks in you, flip the logic around. A surgeon earning $400,000 who invests nothing dies with a big house and an empty account. Maya, investing $12 a day, passes the surgeon's retirement account somewhere around year 18. The market has no idea what your job title is. It only knows 2 numbers, what you feed it and for how long. Now the part almost no competitor video will say out loud because it makes the thumbnail less shiny. $1 million in 30 years will not feel like $1 million today. At normal inflation, it'll feel like roughly half that. So here's the inflation-proof version of the same plan. Use a 7% return, the market's historical average after inflation. And $1 million in today's purchasing power requires $757 a month on top of the $10,000. On a $52,000 salary, that's steep but reachable, especially since the plan started at $365, and raises exist. Maya's move is the escalator. Every raise, she splits it. Half to her life now, half to the machine, a 3% raise on $52,000 is $130 a month. 2 raises nearly close the whole gap, and her lifestyle still improves every single year. Either way, understand what the asterisk changes and what it doesn't. The nominal million still arrives at $365 a month. The stronger inflation-proof million just asks you to feed the machine your raises instead of feeding them to your rent. And even the plain million puts Maya 4 times ahead of the average 55-year-old's $260,000. So here's the entire system, compressed into one payday. Maya gets paid on the 1st. On the 2nd, 3 automatic things happen before she's finished her coffee. Her 401k contribution comes out of the paycheck she never sees, capturing the full match. $180 auto transfers to her Roth IRA, buying the same index fund as always. And the rest of her $185 lands in the brokerage, same fund, no decisions. No apps checked, no news watched, no feelings consulted. $365 deployed in 90 seconds of setup she did once 3 years ago. That's the whole strategy. It fits on an index card, and it beats the vast majority of professionals over 30 years. One warning about the index card, though. The system only survives if it's boring, and people can't resist decorating boring things. They add a fun stock, then a themed fund, then a little leverage, just this once. Every decoration adds a decision, and every decision is a door the behavior tax walks through. Diana, of all people, put it best after she finally started. I don't have a portfolio. I have a bill I pay to my future self. Treat it like the electric bill. Nobody checks the electric bill daily. Nobody panic cancels electricity because of a scary headline. It's just paid forever and the lights stay on. But I promised you a dark side, and here it is. It's the reason most people quit in year 6, and it's hiding inside Maya's own spreadsheet. After 10 full years of doing everything right, her account holds $101,839. Solid. Except 53% of that, more than half, is just her own deposits handed back to her. A decade of discipline, and the legendary compounding machine has contributed less than she has. This is the moment the doubt kicks in. 10 years for this? 10 years of skipped upgrades and packed lunches, and the market's grand contribution is barely a used car. This is when people cash out for a truck or a kitchen or a coin Tyler recommended. It's the most dangerous window of the entire 30 years. Far enough in to feel tired. Not far enough to feel rich. And it's precisely the wrong moment, because the machine is backloaded in a way human brains refuse to feel. Watch the same account further down the same road. First 23 years of the plan. $477,000 of growth. Final 7 years, $535,000. The last 7 years create more money than the first 23 combined, 1/3 more than 2 decades of grinding. By the end, Maya has deposited only $141,000 of her own dollars, 14% of the final balance. The market built the other 86%, and it built almost all of it after most people would have quit. Compound interest pays worst while you're watching hardest, and best after you've stopped looking. That's the whole dark side. Not a crash, not a scam. Just a decade-long stretch where the miracle looks broken, placed exactly where your patience is weakest. There is one early consolation prize if you know where to look. Around year 6, something small and historic happens inside Maya's account. The market's growth for the year quietly exceeds her own deposits for the first time. About $4,900 of growth against her $4,380 in contributions. Nobody throws a party. The app doesn't send a notification. But that's the day her money officially out-earns her effort. The first day, she has a silent employee working full-time, for free, forever. Every year after that, the employee gets a raise. By year 20, it's out-earning her actual job. Most people quit before ever meeting their employee. Don't be most people. So let's give Maya the ending she's owed because she took it. Age 28, $52,000 a year, $10,000 saved, the exact person every finance guru writes off. She moves the $10,000 out of 0.4% purgatory. She sets 3 automatic transfers totaling $365, $12 a day. She splits every future raise with the machine, and then she does the hardest thing in finance, which is nothing, for 27 more years. No stock picking, no timing, no 6-figure salary. Just a container, a number, and a runway. 27 years from now, her account statement will say $1 million, and not one line of it will look impressive. 365, 365, 365, the least dramatic document ever printed, and the most valuable thing she owns. If this video showed you something you didn't know was happening with your money, subscribe to Wealth POV and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every day. And the next time someone tells you that you need a bigger salary to build wealth, ask them one question. Then why is teacher the 3rd most common millionaire career in America? Because you don't need a bigger salary. You need a longer runway. And today is the longest one you will ever get.